Welcome back everybody to Data Science Building Blocks. This is Joe. I'm excited to bring this to you today. We're going to start connecting some dots here and hopefully it all comes together for you. We're going to go over some additional measures. We're going to make some more visuals, make this a little prettier, and most importantly to demonstrate what I talked about last time about why we need a sum in this measure, this HPO over weight measure, but not when we add a column. I'm going to demonstrate this with a roll-up table. So we're going to go ahead and start by creating this roll-up table. And if you don't have this worksheet, if you're tuning in for the first time, just go back and look at the prior 3 videos to catch up to where we are now, or try to hang in there and follow along. So I'm actually going to go to the Edit Query, Power Query Editor by right-clicking and clicking on Edit Query. And once this pops up, you'll see that this is old data. We might have changed it in the Excel file, but it's pretty static data, so you can click refresh if you want, but it shouldn't really change anything since we haven't changed anything in the source data. So we're going to start by right-clicking this and referencing it. So if we reference empty cars, this will save us the hassle of creating a roll-up table, because we can just leave this car column. We don't want anything else, so we can right-click the car column and say remove other columns. And now we can add a new column. And let's do this custom column from examples and from selection. And as long as we're selected on that car column, we can do that. And now we can just start typing what we want, which is really just the make of the car. And that is the word before the space. So in this case, Mazda, and then we can go down the line and it's already doing exactly what we want. So let's just go ahead and click OK. And you can see that's way easier than typing all of these out or doing a left function. It already knows what we're doing. If you want to look at the code, you can see the steps over here. So click on this little gear and it will pop it up for you. Yeah, it's just doing from the start of the input, number of delimiters to skip 0, so it's taking the first one. You can also look at, if you go to the Home tab, click Advanced Editor, this will show you the M code behind it all. So it looks something like this, text dot before delimiter car, and we're calling it type text. So I'm not an M expert, but this could be helpful, especially if you're copying steps from file to file. But this is all we need to do here, and let's just double click this column header and we'll call it make. So make of the car, and we will also rename the table to, let's just do car make, and we'll stick with our snake case, lowercase first word, uppercase second word. So this is perfect. It may go ahead and auto model it for you. So before we click close and apply, do file, options, and settings. I mentioned this setting before. Click options. This will just make it so we don't have to worry about it, and we can guarantee that there's no auto relationship, and we can do all the modeling ourselves. So under current file, data load, this will probably be toggled on. I toggled mine off. Go ahead and toggle it off. So auto detect new relationships, we don't want to do that. We're going to do it all ourselves. So click OK and then click close and apply, and this will load, and I'll show you what that does after this appears. Once it does, go to this modeling ribbon. If you hover over it, it's called model. Click on that and you'll see that there's no relationship. I just held in control and zoomed out. You can also use this little toggle down here on the right. I'm going to collapse that, and I can drag this wherever I want. Doesn't matter. It did not model car to car, but that's exactly what we want to do. So dragging car to car, and it should be a one-to-one relationship because car is unique in both places. But what we're really going to do is filter this main fact table right in the middle by like using this over here. So we can go ahead and double click this and change the filter direction to just single. And we can do a one-to-many relationship. It's yelling at us. It doesn't like single. That's really just in case we ever want to add a duplicate car on this main table in the middle. What we won't do is add a duplicate on this car make table. We'll always have a unique car on this side. So this is the one side and this is the many side. The make, of course, will have duplicates, and that's exactly the point. I need this to show you what I'm going to show you. But we'll always make sure that the car is unique on this car make table. So we're fine to do one-to-many and single. It'll treat it as a one-to-many relationship, but in reality, there's only one unique car on this side as well right now, and that's all there will ever be. So if we go back to here, my point now that I'm trying to make is if we grab from the car make our make now, and on this visual we have to be selected on it, put it above car. Let's make sure we clear all our filters. So if you click the eraser on cylinder, click the eraser on these over here as well, now you've got this big long table because it's including all the cars and all the makes. But what we can do is head over to our visual pane, and let's make this a matrix instead of a table, and it will do some of this for you. We don't want that. Let's drag car up to rows as well. So now we'll have make and cars, and okay, this is a little slimmer, it's a little easier to digest now. And so now we can drill into make and see all of the cars underneath. So Maserati only has one. By the way, you can also click focus mode, which I will do to make it a little bigger for everyone on the call. Toyota has a Toyota Corolla and a Toyota Corona, which feels like a mistake. It's just in, it's not a mistake, it exists, it looks like this. So now we have it all under make. And what's nice about this is the way we wrote that DAX measure to include sum of HP over sum of weight. Now that we've added this roll-up table, because of the way we wrote this measure and because of the modeling that we have between the car make table and the MT cars table, we are able to roll this up at any level. That's why we need the sum. We're not just referencing one cell. Don't think two-dimensionally here. We're not referencing one cell on the table. We're always referencing a chunk of the HP column. We're always referencing a chunk of the weight column. And what we're doing is summing up that chunk, dividing it by this chunk of weight, and getting an answer. So if we do that at the most granular level, at the Toyota Corona level, we get 97 divided by 2.47. If we do it at Corolla here, it's 65 divided by 1.84. But if we do it at the Toyota level, it includes both of them, and what it's doing is summing up the HP, so 97 plus 65. It's summing up the weight, 2.47 plus 1.84, and then it's dividing that 162 divided by 4.3. If you were to make this column in the table like we did last time, by doing new column, it's not going to have you put that sum in because this is very two-dimensional. If you do, I'm just going to call it test, HP divided by, let's do the divide function, HP divided by weight, and we'll do 0 as an alternate result. You don't have to sum it because it knows that it's going row by row by row, and then it's storing it in the table. So we can do that, and we can use this test column in our canvas, but if we do, then it's stored information and it's likely just going to sum it up. It's not going to do the division at every level like we want it to. So I'm going to click escape and pretend this never happened, and we can just move forward with this superior HP over weight measure. And this visual is actually kind of nice. I like that we can see all of the different makes, and it's probably the best roll-up we can do right now. Unless we wanted to split it up by like sports car, SUV, and all that, then we can actually include that as well. So let's incorporate make in our chart to make it a little easier to read. So rather than having car on the axis, we can do make, and that's perfect. If we wanted to drill in, we can actually do this hierarchy and include everything, or click the double arrow and it will just go down to the next level, which is car. So you have that functionality here. Let's pretty this up a little bit now. So we'll clean up everything over here to the right by adding a table. This is pretty good practice. We already wrote a measure. We should have done this the first time. If we enter data, just call this measure. Just needs a column to begin, so just put a 1 in here or 0 or something. Doesn't matter. We'll call the table measure. We'll load it. And you'll see that appear over here. It'll automatically create the query for you. This is just where we want to house all the measures that we write so that they don't get lost under these tables. And I'll show you how to move the one that we already created. So this HP over weight measure, if you click it, you'll see a home table is empty cars. Go ahead and make that measure. So that will move this little calculated field. Now it's nice and clean. We don't have calculated fields anywhere except under measure. And after we have that column in there, we can go ahead and delete the original column that we created. Delete from model. Just make sure you clicked on the right thing. And it won't affect any of our visuals. It recognizes that we've moved the measure under the right table, and it's not affecting anything over here. To make this even a little more compelling, we can just start to drag everything into place where it says cylinder here. You can do a couple things. You can double click and rename it here. So like cylinder. We can rename this chart. Under title, we can just call it horsepower divided by weight. And feel free to, center it. You can put a little background color. Blue might be nice since that matches the chart, or some kind of accent like gray. I like that. If you go back up to cylinder, it'll leave off where you selected it last. So I was on title, but now I can go to background and also make this gray. It should save the color. And now I can kind of see where my lines are. This chart, let's make it a little flashier with style. So go under style, do flashy formatting. And under background color, we can select that. Oh, let's toggle that off. Make sure you're selected on HP over weight. Then click background color and advanced controls. And rather than do this color scale, we can do rules and values and totals. We can do HP over weight is greater than or equal to 0 and is less than, let's say, 60. So between 0 and 60, we can make this red. It depends on your users and your use case. And add a new rule, greater than or equal to 60 is less than, and we can just do like 1,000,000. And we'll make that do more colors, and I'll click on some kind of green. We'll say that that's good. You want a high horsepower per weight for a fast car. So a couple other measures we can do. We don't have dates or probably anything too complex in this data set, so we don't need to make it harder than it needs to be. We're probably just going to be doing simple division or addition. We can do disp over cylinders, so DIS is displacement. I believe that's the combined volume of all the cylinders, so it should always be a whole number. But let's go ahead and test it. It's going to look the same, and I'm explicitly writing these measures out as we do them. These probably aren't super user-friendly names, but they will definitely, when you go back into the file, you know exactly what they are. So we'll keep it for now. So disp over cylinders, and we'll do the same thing, divide, and then we'll have to sum up the DISP. Close that, do a comma, enter your next argument. It's sum of cylinders. and alternate result of 0. Click enter or click the check. And if we want, we can format this measure. We've already selected it over here. We can do a comma, and 2 decimal places works just fine. Let's actually test it and see if it is indeed 2 decimal places. Everything's modeled appropriately, so we should be able to drag it into the mix here. And looks like the 2 decimal places makes sense because it's not perfectly even. We'll leave it like that. Let's go ahead and delete our HP and weight columns now. We're only interested in our calculated columns. That should clean up the chart a bit. You have to click this visualizations or the fields pane to get rid of that top ribbon, by the way. And I'll click the up arrow to roll back up to our total. And we can also conditionally format this one. Paintbrush, conditionally format. Select the correct measure, background color, advanced controls. We'll do field or rules, values and totals. Select your new measure, new rule. So greater than or equal to 0, less than or equal to. We could do a new threshold this time. Looks like 50 would be a good number in this case. Again, depends on the user and the use case. And we'll make a high volume per cylinder, or a high disc per cylinder, a good thing in this case as well. I don't even know if it's good or bad. I'm not a car person, but they're just colors. So green and greater than or equal to 50. I actually did this backwards, red first, then green. Won't let me click OK because I need to make this 1,000,000 or something so the rules make sense. So OK. There, it has applied it. And what's interesting now is you can see where you have greens and reds, and of course if you select a roll up here, it will filter the rest of your page, and that's kind of nice, especially if you select something that has a lot of cars like this Merc. Although here we should actually click the double arrow, and that might be a little nicer, and we can use this as a way to filter then over here. We can additionally make this a little smaller. We can make the title header match, so under title, click toggle that on. We can call this car make data table. And again, font color is black, that's fine. Background color can be this gray. And now it looks a little nicer with the chart over here. And if we want to do another slicer, we'll just click it as we're clicked on the empty visual. Move this here, do a car make. There's your field. You can select drop down. And again, if we want to copy and paste this formatting, we can click this visual, do format painter, and then select make like that. And now we've got ourselves a little bare bones, but a dashboard that works. Let's go ahead and create one more visual, but working smarter, not harder. We'll just go ahead and right click, duplicate this page. And I'll just double click it and do page 3. We can get rid of this visual. I'm just going to get rid of the slicers as well. And we'll make it off of this data table, which I'll make the entire page just so I can see everything. Instead of this table visual, let's go ahead and turn this into a tree map. And we'll get rid of car for now. And under the values, let's just stick with our disp over cylinder. And now you can see that it's organized. It's the size of the tile is the highest disp over cylinder, right? So 59 here, 57 here, 55 here, and selecting it in this case doesn't really do anything. It's more of just a visual. for the sake of creating another visual, under details, you can add a few more things. So car then makes it the same visual split into 6 or 7 for Merc because there's 2 of them, and our Toyota right here, right, it's all the same color, but the details are showing the Corona and the Corolla. So it's a lot to look at here, but it does tell the full story. And if we wanted to, under tooltips, we can add a little more info. So we can show our HP overweight, and then when we hover over, we can not only see the disp over cylinder at 36, we can see that the HP overweight is 19.44. So that's nice. Go ahead and save your work. That's all for today. Next video we'll pick up right here in Power BI.